This class is going to go over how to use our FX trend reversals. And they show multiple time frames on the chart, but the one I want to focus on is these 3 and 4 hour trend reversal signals, which tend to show up as really big, huge yellow dots and sometimes yellow triangles. Usually when these show up, you're going to get a big counter trend move in the opposite direction, sometimes immediately like this, but most of the time it's anywhere from 2 to 8 hours out. And so when you see one of these signals, you can look for sells. In this case, this one went up and it didn't really have that much statistical strength, so when it broke down from here, it goes short, and you can see it fell, came back up and double topped. Because of this signal here, it's much more likely to find resistance here. You can see it was very strong at first, and then the statistical strength fell off, and then the price fell about 85-90 pips. Right? This is the first example that showed up today. It also showed up in the CAD yen. And here's a good example of it not immediately taking effect. But once you see one of these signals, especially if it's above the upper containment bands, especially if you have one of my Fibonacci profit targets, I spend 30 to 45 minutes every night doing these Fibonacci analysis so that you don't have to. At this level and above, you can pretty high probability, with high probability sell when the market breaks down. And sometimes you're going to have a loss, like let's say you sold right here, you have a 6-7 pip loss. You want to always draw your fibs off the last wave up, and notice it hits the next fib target. So this is what happens sometimes. The market shows one of these signals, you might get into a trade and have a small loss. Then, this one has a daily, weekly, monthly trend that's up, so it's more likely to try to go higher. It comes up to this area here with less than the extreme plus 80 strength like there was before, and guess what? The market shows another signal, and then the market then proceeds to fall about 60-65 pips. The last one that showed a signal in this was the New Zealand yen today. Big yellow signal right here. Again, this is one of the strongest daily, weekly, monthly trends. It is above the upper containment band, but when you see one of these, you might go short, have a small loss, and again, it always helps to draw your fibs off the last wave. Look where it goes, right to the fib target. This is kind of a place where, because of this signal here, it means that the New Zealand yen, for the most part, has probably gone up pretty violently this week. You don't get these signals, the big yellow signals, unless the market has moved hundreds of pips, and so it's pretty much exhausted. So if price is also above our upper containment band, which this drawing a fib on here and selling the next fib target when it's that far above the upper 2.0 white containment band is a pretty high probability trade in and of itself. But all this means is, it's even more likely to work. I tend to trade a little bit more lots, maybe 30 or 40% more lots when I see a fib target get hit after one of these signals. And in addition to selling up here, this was a very strong trend. It doesn't always fall off a cliff immediately. A lot of times it will come back up and double top later, like you saw in the last example, then it falls off a cliff. Or in this case, it doesn't even make it back up to the high. This is kind of a 1, 2, 3 high reversal pattern, and when it breaks down right here, you go short. And usually when it finally does make its move, you're going to get at least 2 waves in that direction. So normally I'm kind of in and out, in and out, in and out. But when I see one of these patterns, I tend to go short and wait for a 2-wave move. So this was the first wave. Here's the second wave. It's right to the 1.618 fib target. Usually that's the end of the move. I'm out of the whole thing at 43, short somewhere up here at 90 for almost 50 pips, with a much bigger position than I normally do. And that's one of the reasons why I like to go over this system frequently in our Forex classes.